what you need is to get punched in your mouth for what you need. My mother used to say everybody act different when they taste their own blood. So somebody need to bust this lip up. They need to have a dust up in their locker.
On today's Top Shelf Tuesday edition of the Odd Coaches podcast, Dr. Adams and Coach Francis provide analysis of the Washington Commanders' handling of Jack Del Rio's comments, update the ongoing Deshaun Watson drama, talk about the sale of the Denver Broncos, as well as more off-season QB talk. Welcome to today's show. The Odd Coaches podcast is sponsored by the CKA Save Project. The CKA Save Project is an industry leader in providing student-athlete academic and athletic support. From assessing student-athletes' academic and athletic skills, to measuring and monitoring student-athlete academic progress, to improving student-athlete time management and organizational skills, the CKA Save Project provides wraparound services for student-athletes from middle school through college. For more information, visit us on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org or schedule a free consultation with Dr. Keith Adams by emailing cka@ckasaveproject.org. Dr. Keith Adams is the president of the CKA Save Project, a nonprofit organization designed to assist student athletes and the people who work with them through educational and professional development. He is a career academic and athletic leader with close to 30 years of experience on the high school and college levels. He has won numerous championships and epitomizes professionalism. Coach Mike Franchise Francis is one of the most successful football and basketball coaches in the state of Maryland. He too is a career academic and athletic leader with close to 30 years of experience on the high school and college level and is self-admittedly a little rough around the edges. Both men have mentored countless student athletes, teachers, and coaches using their unique methods and approaches to leadership. Both men also share a unique and special friendship that was cultivated often through their unique perspective of life and leadership. Dr. Adams through his extensive educational background and Coach Francis through his life experiences. Can these two men share a podcast without driving each other crazy? Welcome to the Odd Coaches podcast.
Greetings and salutations and welcome to the Odd Coaches podcast. I am your host, Dr. Keith Adams, and with me today is my tag team partner, the Brad Armstrong to my Terry Allen in Florida in the early 1980s, the icon, the showstopper, the main event, and the reason why we are here, Coach Mike Francis. And Coach, it's Magnum TA's birthday last week. He turned 63. I am one of the biggest Magnum TA fans you will ever see. And this week you will hear it on Tuesday and you will hear it on our Thursday show as I say happy birthday to one of my favorite wrestlers whose career was tragically cut short with that auto accident. But I had a chance to meet Magnum and Nikita at one of the Mid-Atlantic Fan Fest, and both of them were so kind to me. But I tell you what, before we get started, the person who was meanest to me, Ole Anderson. I met Ole Anderson, and he was a butt. I said to Magnum, because I wasn't even talking to Ole, because it's Ole. I said, man, you're my birthday present, because I saved up money to come down here to meet you and Nikita and all my, heroes. And he said, Nicky, come on over here. It's this guy's birthday. Let's take a picture and whatever. And Ole, and such an Ole manner said, this is your freaking birthday present? And he didn't say frickin'. You must be a loser. I was like, I love that, man. I'm crotchety old man. And it was great. But how you doing, brother?
I'm good. How you doing?
I am doing well. Happy to tape again, and the NFL continues to help us out with topics. So we're going to get started with the Washington Commanders in the news again, and we're going to call this "You Don't Know Jack." Washington Commanders defensive coordinator Jack Del Rio was asked about his tweets last week about an upcoming congressional hearing, which was about the January 6th insurrection. And he said, to paraphrase, he wanted to know why similar energy wasn't devoted to the riots in the summer of 2020. And he termed the Capitol riot a dust-up. Well, that didn't go over very well. So I want to give you some insight in terms of what he actually said, and then we'll continue on with the responses. He said, and I quote, why aren't we not looking into these things? If we're going to talk about it, why aren't we looking into those things? I can look at images on TV. People's livelihoods are being destroyed. Businesses are being burned down. No problem. And then we have a dust up at the Capitol. Nothing burned. And we're going to make a major deal out of that. So the local response. Commanders defensive tackle Jonathan Allen told the local news that the tweets were not a locker room topic. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion. Former Washington cornerback D'Angelo Hall, who's the team's radio analyst the last 2 years, tweeted a clown emoji. So now we go to Riverboat Ron. Commanders head coach Ron Rivera initially did not reveal whether he talked to Del Rio about his tweets. He said at that time, if it becomes an issue or a situation, we'll have that discussion. Right now, it's something that I will deal with when it comes up. Now, before Ron Rivera had the conversation with Jack Del Rio was asked whether he was concerned that his tweets could potentially have a negative effect on Black players. Del Rio said, and I quote, "Anything that I ever say or write, I'd be comfortable saying or writing in front of everyone that I work with, players and coaches." Del Rio said he wasn't worried about his tweets impacting the relationship between his players, mostly whom are Black. Then, Mike, we got the apology. Mm-hmm. Jack Del Rio said, and I quote, "I made comments earlier in referencing the attack that took place on the United States Capitol on January 6, 2021. Referencing that situation as a dust-up was irresponsible and negligent, and I am sorry." So we had some potential backlash. Del Rio's comments sparks criticism from the Virginia State Senator Scott Sorvel, who represents the district where the team recently purchased land in hopes of building a stadium. And the state senator tweeted, "The likely indifference and intolerance in the NFL to Jack Del Rio's indifference to the insurrection underscores the league's hypocrisy in blackballing Colin Kaepernick, and also makes it clear to me that we will not be seeing any more votes on the stadium build this year." Coach Ron Rivera fined Jack Del Rio $100,000 and will donate that money to, I believe, the Capitol Police Fund. And as of right now, Jack Del Rio has deleted his Twitter account. Mike, the floor is yours, sir. How do you feel about all of these happenings with Jack Del Rio this past week, sir?
I'm never going to say nobody has a right to their own opinion, but when you're involved in a team sport or activity like this, especially with people you know that this can affect, it just shows you, to me, that's the white privilege, saying what you want when you want to whoever you want. To have the balls to come up, anything I write, I'll say in front of anybody. Man, what you need is to get punched in your mouth for what you need. You know, my mother used to say everybody act different when they taste their own blood. So somebody need to bust this lip up. They need to have a dust up in their locker room. That's what we would be having a dust up in the locker room, but that's just me. Trying to cover it now, you know, you can't take back what you said. You already said it. But the thing is, I'm more upset that we think this is a shot. I'm more upset that people think there ain't at least 2 or 3 Ron Riveras on every NFL team, like a minimal. Whether it's players, GMs, coaches, is at least 3 dudes like that. You know, that's the way it is.
And it was Jack Del Rio. But what I wanted to ask you about it, and where I'm going to go with this, is many people have called for his firing. Mm-hmm. And as you said, we've both worked in athletics and academics damn near 30 years. And we have worked with people who have these opinions, thoughts, ideas, and we have worked fine with them because most relationships are transactional. When I go to work, I got a job to do. Everybody's got a job to do, your job, my job, our job, whatever. And then we go home. And on occasion we say, did you hear what that Bama said about whatever? Mm-hmm. So my thought was the organization didn't think enough of what was said to pause him. You know, I'm a fan of suspend, not fire everybody. Mm-hmm. But this was a perfect case, in my opinion, of Jack, this is bad. we've got to take you away from this, and we've got to at least make an attempt to educate you, blah, 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 whatever. And then whatever happens after that happens after that. This $100,000 fine, I mean, the guy used to be an NFL head coach. A buddy of mine said that's like fining him $50 in terms of the money relative to it. And we haven't heard a statement from the GM. We haven't heard a statement from the owner. We just heard from Ron Rivera. And let's be honest, man, this is a football team. And we haven't talked anything about the quarterbacks or anything. We haven't talked anything football. So if you go out in September and lose Jacksonville to start your season off, yeah, we're going to have a lot to talk about. So at some point, it's still going to come back to the on-field issues and can you play, because it is quite clear with everything we've talked about that these types of things don't bother you. So how can it bother us? If it doesn't bother you, how can it bother us? And that's how you run your organization. There's not much we can do about how you run your organization, because I don't see 24 owners saying, no, I'm good with Snyder. It's going to take a congressional investigation and that word discover to make them move.
That's what it takes. And again, they didn't get at them with nothing else than when they was taking the cheerleaders' passports, when the dudes was like the whole name situation, everything that was going on. The first time the owners even thought about taking something or organizing anything against him is when they found out he kept $5 million.
Wait, you taking money from us?
Yeah. Oh,
now
no,
we've
you gotta
got
go.
an issue.
Gotta go. I don't care if you kidnap all them people. Just don't mess with my money. And that's what you're dealing with.
All right. So we're going to move on to our second story, which seems to continue to rear its ugly head. Jeez. So we're going to talk about Deshaun Watson, but we're not worried about a lost episode this time, even though around this time last year we were. So I'm going to give you Deshaun Watson fans by the numbers. He has $230 million guaranteed to him, and it's broken down into a signing bonus plus a salary plus next year's salary plus a salary in 2024 plus a salary in 2025 plus a salary in 2026. And he also got a $44.9 million signing bonus. And there is language that exists that will not forfeit the signing bonus or void future guarantees upon suspension. So he's got his money. So I just wanted to make sure everybody knew that. Okay. He's getting that money. So now we're traveling Route 66. The New York Times reported that Cleveland Browns quarterback Deshaun Watson booked massage appointments with at least 66 women over a 17-month period from the fall of 2019 to the spring of 2021. The list includes, according to the New York Times, 24 women who filed a lawsuit against them, including 2 recent people who filed a lawsuit. A woman who sued Watson but then withdrew the complaint. 2 women who filed criminal complaints against Watson but did not sue him. At least 15 therapists who issued statements of support for Watson at the request of his lawyers. At least 4 therapists contracted with the Texans. 5 women identified by the plaintiff's lawyer during the investigation for their civil suits, and at least 15 other women whose appointments with Watson were confirmed through interviews and records reviewed by the New York Times. Before we continue, Mike, I'm going to pause and say, what are your thoughts on this before we give the audience some additional information?
It's interesting to see where this is going to go. Like you said, his money is guaranteed. True.
Cleveland said here.
Yeah, they've given it to him already. So where there's smoke, there's fire. 24 women. Then you throw in the organization. Like we talk about, the NFL has it's a powerful company, man. It's a powerful company. But for them with contracted through the team, like that's a lot. Now you talk about congressional hearings, like there's too much of this to unfold, in my opinion. I just hope that everyone gets treated accordingly. They take the women seriously. Deshaun maybe is treated fairly as well, and that we get to a resolution. That's the not interesting, but the thing I'm going to see is how do they get out of this? Where do we go next? Now, what happens if there's 25, 26? Like, what happens? At one point, do you think the NFL step in and say, all right, we just can't do this?
Yeah. Well, let's give you some additional notes, fans. A few of these additional women spoke publicly for the first time to the New York Times. One woman who did not sue Watson or complain to the police told the New York Times that he was persistent in his request for sexual acts during their massage, including begging for oral sex. The New York Times also reported that the non-disclosure agreement that Watson gave to some of the women came directly from the Texans' director of security, Brent Nakara. The Texans declined to comment on the NDA, but said in a statement they first found out about the allegations against Watson in March 2021 when the first lawsuit was signed. The latest lawsuit says the plaintiff massaged Watson twice. The first session was cut short because Watson had to leave abruptly after taking a phone call. The lawsuit says Watson scheduled a second massage a few days later when the woman says Watson exposed himself. And let's just say he offered no apology or explanation for his conduct. So what's Deshaun up to? As the 24th, I can't believe we're saying it like this, as the 24th lawsuit was formally being announced, Watson took place in the Browns' charity golf outing. He did not speak to the media. So you asked about the NFL partner. The NFL, through two grand juries, although two grand juries in Texas declined to pursue criminal charges against Watson, the NFL is investigating whether he violated its code of conduct and interviewed the quarterback in person last month. At the league's spring meeting, Roger Goodell said he thought the NFL was nearing the end of the investigation, but couldn't give a timeline for when a ruling could be made. Mike, I found out that it appears Cleveland is not looking to void the contract. So I am going to ask you as Coach Francis two questions. One, how are you dealing with this? And two, what about Baker?
It lost in all of this is Baker. We had a conversation before, like, yeah, you don't even bring him in. You saw the reports. It's not even coming to mandatory camps. He's not even coming to. He don't have to do any of that. Contract can't be voided from what I understand as long as he shows up, right?
Yeah, Cleveland's we're good.
Yeah, and then unless he gets arrested or indicted on anything, they have to pay the money. Now, there's going to be backlash along the road all season long. You're going to have the picketers. You're going to have, training camp going to have to be closed because, it's going to be wild. I go back to the Ravens at that Super Bowl when that young man lost his life because he was outside, and then it just picketed forever. I see that can you trade Baker?
If somebody wants him, but remember, he's due $18.9 million. Somebody's going to give him that money.
Oh, we find Baker. Like, where is Baker? Like, anybody seen or heard from Baker?
Well, now he wants to be quiet. He didn't want to be quiet before. Now he wants to be quiet.
You know what I mean?
Well, fans, as we end this segment, we will continue to keep an eye both on the Washington Commanders and the Deshaun Watson situation, as it will continue. Both will come up throughout the entire offseason. And we'll be back on the Odd Coaches podcast after this brief message.
Why should student athletes use the CKA SAVE Project academic and athletic consulting services? Over the past 15 to 20 years, colleges, universities, professional sports teams, business organizations, and others have increased their use of consulting services to improve their decision-making processes and results. Over the same time, the athletic and academic landscape has changed for high school and college student athletes as the NCAA has raised initial academic eligibility requirements for student athletes while decreasing the number of transfer restrictions. Former college student athletes have noted that they were academic and athletically unprepared for the rigors of college. Let the CKA SAVE Project's close to 30 years of academic and athletic experience help guide student athletes to increase success as we work to help student athletes achieve the goal of obtaining a college degree. For more information, contact Dr. Keith Adams by email at cka@ckasaveproject.org.
Welcome back to the Odd Coaches Podcast. In segment 2, we are going to talk about monopoly money. Live better. That's the Walmart slogan, sir. The Denver Broncos have entered a sale agreement with the Walton Penner family ownership group. And the agreement is for, wait for it, $4.65 billion. That would be a record price for a North American sports franchise. If the Denver Broncos, Mike, is worth $4.65 billion.
They ain't won shit.
Wow. All right. The Walton Penner Group, headed by Walmart heir Rob Walton, his daughter Carrie Walton Penner, and her husband Greg Penner, will also include Melody Hobson, co-CEO of Ariel Investments, as well as chair of the board of the Starbucks Corp, and a director in JP Morgan Chase. I forgot JP Morgan and Chase Bank. Oh, man. It's expected to take 60 to 90 days, but I am not anticipating a problem because the NFL wants that loot.
I think that money good. That money good.
And the Walton family's net worth is $59 billion. So I think they're good for it. Okay. So, Mike, this is how we got here. Bolin and the sisters originally paid $78 million in 1984 for controlling interest in the Broncos. Bolin later purchased the shares held by his sisters and his two brothers. The team had more Super Bowl appearances, 7 than losing seasons in his tenure. So he was a good owner. Okay. The agreement ends an 8-year odyssey because when he stepped away, as he was, getting age, he had onset Alzheimer's disease. He died in 2019. He never formally declared a successor among his children. Hey, folks, side note, man, get your wills and all that stuff in order.
Do that, all that money.
It's part of my summer plan, and I'm going to tell my partner the same thing.
He might hate his kids. He hated his kids, man.
Okay. So he held interest in the team, which was about 78% of the team. It was placed in a trust overseen by outside counsel. So that is just a note to everybody. Get your affairs in order while you still can. Trivia note, the sale agreement between the Walton Penner Group also means that Walton and Stan Kroenke, Walton's cousin by marriage, will own 5 of the 6 major professional sports teams in Colorado. Kroenke owns the Nuggets, the Avalanche, the Rapids, and the Colorado Mammoth lacrosse team, in addition to the regional media company in the state. Wow. So
can you say monopoly?
Yeah, absolutely. So what do other teams cost? The Carolina Panthers held the record when they sold in 2018 for $2.3 billion. So we're in 2022, 4 years later, selling for almost $5 billion. So if the Commanders are ever put up for sale, what do you think they're going to go for? I got to think $7-8 billion. I got to think that. And
as long as the owner gone, they get rid of the ownership. He might
Bezos got that. Bezos got that.
Yeah, Bezos got that in his back pocket. What are you talking about? That's nothing.
I don't have $7 or $8 in my pocket, but
I can't remember.
All right. So to thy own self be true. Wide receiver Davante Adams is no longer with the Green Bay Packers, and he says quarterback Aaron Rodgers' looming retirement is partly to blame. While there is no bad blood between the former teammates, Adams does admit Rodgers played a part in his departure. Adams gave reporters an inside look into why he decided to join the Las Vegas Raiders, saying he did speak to Rodgers about his decision. He said, we talked multiple times. We talked throughout the whole process. He was aware of where I stood, and I was aware of where he stood. We had talks just like what he said the other day. While looking at his future, Adams said he had to make a decision that was in the best for his long-term success. Adams emphasized that there's no hard feelings, and they both understood the other's choice. Mike, if you're the Packers, not Aaron Rodgers, how do you feel about that?
I couldn't put myself in that position because I wouldn't play the damn games that Green Bay Packers plays, even the ones they play with Aaron, like drafting a quarterback over him and all that. Like Aaron Rodgers gonna get what he get, but Devontae Adams ain't, so he has to look out for himself. That's the way I look at it. Like they're gonna play that game with Aaron Rodgers, but he ain't going nowhere. We talked about that, right? Every August, where he gonna be at? Training camp in Green Bay. Devontae Adams ain't gonna get the same respect. He ain't gonna get the same respect and the same favor as Aaron Rodgers. So if I'm him, I'm looking out for myself too.
Yes, indeed. And I just think Green Bay has totally mismanaged the last 5 years.
Oh yeah.
From picking Jordan Love to who they're giving money to allowing Aaron Rodgers, and yes, he's two-time reigning MVP, but we play these things for championships, and you got nothing. What did you get out of whatever it is you were trying to do? So, good luck with that. Looking forward to covering the pack this year, and don't come out with no slow start because the RELAX and so forth.
No,
I ain't gonna fly no more, man.
That's done.
And speaking of done, this segment's done, but when we come back, we're going to have more quarterback talk. And I can't wait to get my partner's thoughts on some of the quarterbacks we're going to talk about. And we'll be right back on the Odd Coaches Podcast.
Dr. Keith Adams, president of the CKA Save Project's book, Finding the Balance, My Personal Journey to Academic and Athletic Success, is now available for purchase. The book serves as both a memoir of Dr. Adams' 30-year academic and athletic career, as well as an instructional guide to assist student athletes, parents, coaches, teachers, and administrators navigate through the challenges of finding a better balance between academic and athletic success. The book includes numerous personal stories and anecdotes from Dr. Adams, along with numerous former players and colleagues, including former George Mason standout Folarin Campbell. You can order your copy at www.ckasaveproject.org. From the main page, simply click CKA Save Project Services and order the Find the Balance book. For more information, contact Dr. Keith Adams by email at cka@ckasaveproject.org.
Welcome back to the Odd Coaches Podcast. And in segment 3, man, we're just going to talk some quarterback stuff because that's what we're forced to do by the national media anyway. So, Mike, do you believe him? Tyreek Hill compared and contrast his two most recent quarterbacks, Patrick Mahomes and Tua Tagovailoa. And Tyreek Hill said, and I quote, obviously, like I'm going to go with 15, who's Patrick Mahomes, as the strongest arm. But as far as accuracy-wise, I'm going with Tua all day. Mike, do you believe him before we look at stats and data?
No. All I got to see is that video of Tyreek Hill stopping to come back to get the pass that Tua threw.
That's just one pass.
It's NFL. You only need one to make it, right?
Okay. So
one to win the Super Bowl, one to get you over. Like you can't underthrow a receiver. You're a professional quarterback. You can't then you shouldn't be doing it. You shouldn't be running that route. You shouldn't be calling that play. There's no way.
Well, fans, we're going to give you some data. Last season, despite Tua having the edge in completion percentage, 67.6 to 66.3%. Mahomes had the edge in accurate throw rate. I didn't even know that was a stat.
Is it?
The same was true the year before when Mahomes was accurate on 76.7% of his passes compared to Tua's 74.2%. In fact, Mahomes has been more accurate in each of his 4 seasons as a starter than Tua was last season, which was his most accurate by far. So for all the stat geeks out there, there's your statistical data.
So what you're saying is Mahomes' worst year is still better than Tua's best year.
Now, I didn't say it. The stats said it. That's
what.
How's that for data?
Yeah, let's go.
All right.
Next question.
Let's talk about Cool Breeze, baby. Cool Breeze. Breeze is officially done at NBC Sports after 1 year. Breeze will not be a part of the NFL, the network's NFL and Notre Dame coverage. We'll have to ask Jake if Drew was any good.
No.
Breeze signed a multi-year contract with NBC in 2020 before he completed a 20-year NFL career. Sounds familiar. He was an analyst for Notre Dame games with Mike Tirico and was in studio for most Sundays for Football Night in America. You know, we don't watch that. I don't know why we don't watch. It's probably because we're taping, but I don't miss it either. So I don't think I'll be watching next year.
I don't have to be doing nothing to avoid watching Chris Collinsworth.
Well, many people thought Breeze was the heir apparent to Chris Collinsworth. By the way, didn't Chris Collinsworth's son work on the show too? Yeah.
Keep going.
Even though Breeze remains under contract with NBC, the network would not stand in the way if another opportunity came. So, Coach, what are they really saying about Breeze?
Don't let the door hit you where the good Lord split you. That's what it say.
Hey, if you want to leave, we got go ahead.
Yeah. Look, man, we all right. Like you know, I mean, you ain't gotta stay. You know, we can cover it. You know, if you want to go home, you know, you got something to do. You know what I mean? Like, that's that nice way of telling you get the hell out. You know, to be like, come on, man, we got it. Nah, man, these 6 cars, we can go ahead. You go ahead.
So to go back to my old life, Drew's the player that the coach brought in and said, "Hey, here's Mike Francis. He plays point guard too." Now, I'm not saying you ain't gonna play, but he's a 5-star recruiting. But there's some other things you could do, but I'm not saying leave. But Mike's going to play all your minutes. But anyway, you go ahead and think about it.
I tell him, look, you getting there, but you ain't close. The earliest I can see you playing is maybe January, maybe late January, early February. If you're
Maybe
okay
March
with that,
or April.
you know what I mean? If you're okay with that, you know, you can go in and welcome to stay. And if not, I can completely understand. But chances are behind this Division I scholarship point guard and Kevin Hammock, you're not going to see the floor. And he comes off like 30 seconds before a timeout. That's about it. If we're on defense and if we're on offense, he ain't coming out.
All right, so let's get some cap talk in. Quarterback Derek Carr. I always call him by his brother's name. But anyway, Derek Carr endorsed the Raiders giving Colin Kaepernick a workout at the team facility. He said, "I think he'd be great in the locker room should the Raiders sign him." Kaepernick, who took a knee to protest police brutality and racial injustice, has not played in the league since 2016, and the Raiders are the only team to give him a workout. So is this setting the stage, or does Derek Carr know that they're not going to bring him in so I can say anything positive I want?
I mean, Tannehill should learn from this. Just shut up and go along with the company line. So Derek Carr ain't going to mess up his bag.
Of course, he's mad that you on Tannehill still, man.
I'm saying I'm mad at that, man. I can't
clarify his comment.
It's going to take forever for me. Fans, I apologize. It's going to take me a while to get over that. I don't do distractions and I don't do selfishness. I can't do either one of them.
Remember, he said the word mentor.
I confront it
a lot. So that's what he was saying. Not that he wasn't going to be a good applesauce.
Please. Please. Derek Carr saying what he's supposed to say because he don't want to mess up. I mean, he might feel that way. I don't know if he feels that way. But, I mean, he said exactly what he was supposed to say. And I understand that. And I respect him for doing that. Even if in his heart of hearts he don't give a shit or no, it makes him angry, he still went about it the right way. He was a professional about it. At some point, we just talked about this with those people who we work with who are the Del Rios of every company in the United States of America.
Now. We've made up a new word.
Yes, we're going to verb yes. You're a Del Rio. So all these Del Rios in these workplaces that we go and we see every day and we walk by, hello, how you doing? And we know, like you said, we get home and say, you ain't going to believe what this one said today. You ain't going to believe, that's the way it is.
All right. So speaking of not believing it, we're going to talk some Cam Newton. All right. And Cam had a lot to say. So this is a lot to unpack. Cam Newton believes he's still one of the 32 best quarterbacks in the NFL, and that the current perception people have of him comes from himself, from putting himself in a messed up situation with the Carolina Panthers last year.
Mm-hmm.
So here's what Cam said. He said, I signed on Thursday. I played on Sunday. And he said this on the Pivot podcast, which is really, really good.
Shout out Pivot. I don't miss.
That's a good show, man.
I subscribe.
So at what point do you think you was going to be successful? The next week I started. That's still under 10 days of you being on a team, still trying to learn the offense. Okay. So that's what Cam said. He also explained that he never meant to put down or defame women when he appeared on the $1 Million Worth of Game podcast in April, because on the podcast, he talked about women who can't cook and don't know when to be quiet. He said, in part, now a woman for me is handling your own, but knowing how to cater to a man's needs. And a lot of times when you get the that aesthetic of I'm a boss, I'm this, I'm that. No, baby, but you can't cook. Okay. You don't know how to allow a man to lead. So he clarified those comments. And finally, he said, when he was asked if he was ready to step away from football, he said he was ready to leave when the Panthers cut him the first time. So with that being said, and all the things going on with Cam and a lot of body hits, a lot of hits, one, is he still one of the 32 best quarterbacks? And two, what's Cam Newton going into 2022, 2023, Mike?
I think in the right situation, he is one of the best. You know, I think he's one of the best quarterbacks in the league, 32. I know you think that because you swear it's the most overrated position in the NFL.
That's about money for me with a quarterback. Yes.
I just think that if he's surrounded, like you said, you can't go anywhere. Like I told you about the guy down in Carolina now who left the Jets, right?
Sam Darnold.
Like if you don't have anything around you, you're not going to be successful. I don't give a damn how good you are. Remember, Troy Aikman was 1-15, 0-16, 1-15 before they started adding pieces, and Dallas went on that run. If you don't have the players, man, it's simple, man. You can't win. If you don't surround the quarterback, you can't win. Then they got Eric Allen, who was that left. You know, they got Big E. Then they got Stepnowski. Then they got what's the drug dealer name? The guard,
man,
like 6-time, 7-time Pro Bowl. I forgot his name. Nate Newton.
Nate Newton. Dang, I was
Nate Newton. Like it was, man. They that line, man, sort of fortified. It was one of the greatest offensive lines in NFL history.
Yeah, and as a result, a mediocre running back made it all the way to the Hall of Fame.
Whoa, where's your brother at? Man, I need to call your brother right now. We ain't gonna have that blasphemy.
You just made my argument.
We're not gonna.
We're laying it out.
We're not gonna have that blasphemy. I need to get in contact with your brother. You're coming out the wrong way again. I gotta call the family. I gotta make a call on this one. I gotta call like I'm Tony Soprano. We gotta have a sit down.
Well, look, man. For me,
no, man.
I'm boring. Okay, I lead boring. I don't like noise. We always talk about distraction, and I'm looking for a quarterback. Keith Adams, GM, looking for a quarterback that's salary-wise between 10 to 15 in that range, okay? Because I can say I'm paying you more than the top half of the league, okay? I'm looking for no diva. I just want a guy that's going to come to work, do his job, go home. There's too much spent on all the extras, okay? So that's why every year I look at the, how can I get this on a budget? I don't want Patrick Mahomes. Yes, he could be good and all of that, but look at his percentage of the salary cap. I darn sure don't want Aaron Rodgers because I can't coach that, man. That's too much. There's an old joke in my social circles on how much I like Allen Iverson on your team. I like him on your team. I don't like him on my team because I got to do too much to make this happen. So give me boring. And that's pretty much it. But fans, as we close this episode, we're very excited. Got a couple of quick announcements. July 1st is a super important day for the CKA Save Project. That is the day we shift our focus from local and regional issues to national issues concerning student athletes. So you will hear from us frequently, and the Odd Coaches podcast is the vehicle that we use for it. And speaking of the show itself, we begin our NFL summer previews beginning July 10th. And I'm really excited about the show and the format we're going to use. So we're going to bring in our OCP correspondents when they're available. And we're going to give general team overviews, give everybody their opening statement. I think Mike might push out the Cowboys first and say, I got this one.
That's all right. You can have them.
And then in segment 2, we'll have a structured debate. So we're telling our people in advance, it will be a structured debate. Yes, it's going to go off the rails, though, no matter how much I try. And then in segment 3, we're getting ready for strictly for entertainment purposes in terms of division prediction. Both Mike and I will have our pencils ready because the OCP will be putting out loot, and we hope we get a sponsor at the Maryland Live or someplace where we can go every week and meet, have a beverage, and put our little $10 down, and maybe have a piece of cheesecake at Cheesecake Factory. So official emails will go out next week to our unofficial correspondents. And if you're interested, please email me at ckasafeproject.org. Mike, any final thoughts before we close as we get ready to really do this NFL thing? We've got a network of correspondents and everything. Wow.
We're going to see. It looks like future's bright as we continue to move forward. I like the direction that we're headed in, and coming to a place near you soon. This is what we'll say. We're coming to a place near you soon as we add more people and start to put together a plan that will strategically place us in the proper place for what we do and how we do it, and the professionalism that comes along with this and the work that we put in for over a year. I don't know how many podcasts there are. I know how many may start and stop, but we're on episode 148 right now. So, so we longevity wise, we're at that level. We're knocking on the door. So anyone who's hearing this, we are looking for sponsorships. We are looking for people who are willing to be correspondents as we grow into Odd Coaches TV. That's what we're going to call it now. We're going to call it Odd Coaches TV. That's it.
And our YouTube numbers are going up. Shout out to Kelly who gives us all this data.
Yes.
So,
yes.
All right. On behalf of my tag team partner, Coach Mike Francis, I am Dr. Keith Adams saying thank you for listening and or watching. And yes, you're watching. Yeah, I gotta hook this up.
Yeah.
Whatever. I'm Dr. Keith Adams, and we will see you on the sidelines. Till next time, take care.
We hope you enjoyed today's show. The Odd Coaches podcast drops new episodes every Tuesday through Friday on most weeks. Make sure you subscribe to the Odd Coaches podcast on Apple Music, iHeartRadio, Podbean, Spotify, and YouTube. Follow the Odd Coaches podcast on Twitter and Instagram at Odd Coaches. Follow Dr. Adams on Twitter and Instagram at CKA Save Project. In addition, follow Coach Mike Francis on Twitter and Instagram at Coach Franchise, spelled Coach Franchize. For more information about the CKA Save Project, please visit them on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org. See you next time on the Odd Coaches Podcast.